What's up YouTube? Welcome back to today's video. First off, hope you're all having a great day today. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing a Q&A where I answer all your guys' questions on outlaw carts, sprint cars, iRacing, my merchandise, and a whole lot more. I absolutely love shooting Q&A videos, and mainly just for one reason. That's because I get to interact with you guys. All of you will send in a ton of questions, a lot of good ones this time. I went on my Instagram story and I said, hey, send in questions about my racing, my sprint car, my outlaw cart, anything, even stuff about my life you guys would like to know, and I'll try to answer all of them in the Q&A video. So I do apologize if I did not get to your question. Make sure you guys go type it in the comments down below, and we'll try to get it in the next Q&A. Lately, I've kind of been switching it up, whether I do a live Q&A or I actually do a video. I like the live because it just makes it easier to answer everyone's questions, and I can go on a lot longer, where a video, I only try to keep it, right around 10 minutes. So let me know in the comments section down below if you guys want live Q&As or more videos like this, and I'll try to do more of each in the future. Also, one more thing that has to do with these Q&A videos. So every time I ask questions, for my Instagram and you guys send in a bunch, I get a lot of them like, Tanner, where are you from? How'd you get started in racing? How old are you? And those are all great questions, but I've kind of answered them in some previous Q&As. So I'll link those playlists down below with all my Q&A videos. But I think I'm going to come out with the frequently asked questions. So then, you guys can watch that and find out stuff if you're a new subscriber and you just started watching. You can learn a ton about me all in one short video. So stay tuned for that. It'll be coming out here soon. Now let's get into the Q&A. Now this first question, right when someone asked it to me over Instagram, I knew I had to put it in the video. What are your top 5 dream tracks? Now this is great, and I'm gonna say a lot of them are gonna be kind of generic, probably what a lot of other racers would say. So the first one, Knoxville. I mean, the Knoxville Nationals happens there. It's just such an iconic track, and it's the sprint car capital of the world, so who would not want to race there? I mean, it's so great. Second one would be Eldora, the Big E. I mean, that in alone kind of explains itself. The third one, the Chili Bowl, another one kind of just explains itself. Those top 3 are kind of just, everyone's probably top 3, I would say. Another track I really want to go to is Western Springs in New Zealand. This place just looks like a blast. It looks like a little short track in a way, and it's just so unique, and a lot of good racing takes place there. And then the 5th track I would want to race at is Port Royal Speedway, the Speed Palace of the United States. It's a huge half-mile located in Pennsylvania. A lot of you guys know about it if you're from the PA posse. You guys go there a lot. It's a beautiful racetrack, and it looks like a ton of fun. And then I also want to add a 6th one. And now this isn't necessarily just one particular track. It's just all short tracks. I'm a big short track guy. I love short track racing. And so I could probably come up with my own separate list of just short tracks I want to go to. There's so many great ones out there. But for now, those are my top 5. Now moving on. Now this next question is probably the most confused one on my channel. You guys, a lot of you don't get it, which is totally fine. It's understandable. What is the difference between a limited and a 360? So a limited is not a 305. A lot of you guys think that. I totally would understand why you would. It's not like we just have a totally different name. It's actually a whole separate engine. So just to get that out of the way, the limited, it's not a 305. Now, both my 360 engine and my limited are both 360 cubic inches. Now, the limited engine puts out about 550 horsepower, where my 360 dynoed right around 730 horsepower. Now, the limited, though, is a stock Chevy 350 engine with dart head straight from the factory. It also has flat top pistons and is fuel injected, not carbureted. And that is why the limited only makes 550 horsepower compared to a 360, which can make anywhere, from 720, 730, maybe upwards of 780, which my 360 has ASCS heads on. It's not an open engine. So I just wanted to clear the air with that. I think I maybe answered that a few Q&As ago, but I get asked that question so much, and I'm like, it's not technically a 305. It's almost in the same horsepower range, and the limited class is going after the same thing the 305 class is going after, but technically they're not the same engine. If you could do any other form of racing besides what you're doing now, what would it be? First type of racing that comes into my head is supercross. I always said if I had a second life, I would love to jump the dirt bikes and race. It just always looked like a ton of fun. Now lately I haven't kept up with it as much as I used to, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I always used to love watching Ryan Dungey, driving a KTM on my Outlaw cart. I always tried to support the KTM guys like Marvin Muscan and Ryan Dungey. And I'm even wearing my KTM shirt now, so I'm too chicken to actually ride a dirt bike and do all those jumps in real life, but if I was like invincible, I would definitely do that. Another form of racing I always thought that would be really, really fun is Silver Crown cars. If I couldn't run non-wing or wing sprint cars or midgets or anything, those Silver Crown cars look really, really fun on asphalt and dirt. On dirt, one of the best races I ever saw was this last year at the Four Crown Nationals between Kevin Thomas Jr., CJ Leary, and a few others just going at it in those things, almost like they were non-wing sprint cars. So a very fun type of racing. I definitely think it'd be worth trying. This next one is a very important question. What's the best way to get sponsors? Now, I think I'll make a whole separate video on this, but just a quick tip how I kind of do it is I make a racing resume, I talk about myself, and that's the weird thing about a resume. So, you know, it's kind of weird to talk about yourself and try to make yourself sound really good, but that's what you're trying to do. You're listing your accomplishments and pretty much why they should sponsor you, and also talking about what you can do for them. It's not about what they can do for you. It's all about what you bring to the table. Like I said, I'll probably actually walk you through my whole racing resume in a different video. I think that'd be a great idea, but that's what I do. And then it's best to go meet with them in person, or if maybe they're out of state and you're trying to get a big company, you send them a very professional email. And I always recommend when you're doing a resume, make sure you have someone read over it. Don't just type it up and then hit the send button. Read over it several times, have a parent look over it, or even maybe your English teacher. It's always a good idea to have someone double check. Did you ever feel the pressure to race? I never did, but I think the reason mainly also is I don't come from a racing family or a racing background, so it wasn't like my dad was just this big time race car driver or a crew chief or anything, and I was just supposed to be the next him. My dad was just a racing fan, kind of. He went to a few NASCAR races, but it wasn't like he was at the dirt track every single week, if ever. Same with my mom. You know, both of them never really had any connections to racing besides knowing of it and maybe going to a few races to see what it was about. So I never felt any pressure. And honestly, if I was 5 or 6 years old and I would have went to my dad and been like, look, I'm done, let's just sell everything, he would have been like, all right, way cheaper to go play baseball. Another great question here. Why did you pick dirt over asphalt? It wasn't necessarily that I picked dirt over asphalt. It was just dirt was kind of the only choice I really had, only because of kind of where I live. There's not a ton of asphalt racing around here, where the dirt opportunities are there's a lot more opportunities in dirt racing than asphalt. If I lived back in North Carolina or on the East Coast, or maybe up towards like, you know, the New England area up there where there's a ton of asphalt racing, that's what I would have ended up in for sure. But just where I'm at, the dirt opportunities, like I said, there was a lot more of them. How do you balance school and racing? So if you guys don't know, now I'm technically homeschooled. I go to a charter school. I take a few classes at the campus where my school is at, and then also I take quite a few online. And I really enjoy this personally. Some people say don't ever do this, and some people say it's definitely worth trying. My mom never wanted me to do homeschool ever, but finally she kind of listened to me and listened to my concerns of why I actually wanted to do it. And so far it's kind of worked out. You know, I definitely like online school a little bit more than doing real school and actually sitting in a classroom. So of course it's easier to balance school now with racing. But personally, kind of what I do is when I'm at the racetrack, I just don't even think about school. Like if I'm behind or something, when I show up Monday morning or Sunday when I get home, that's when I work on it. But school never ever affects my racing. I don't think about it. I kind of put racing first and school second. That's not the greatest thing to do, guys. I would say definitely get your school done, get your stuff done, and that's usually what happens. I get it done in time. It's just, you know, if I'm a little behind or whatever, I just make sure I work a little extra hard during the week so I can go play on the weekends. And that's what I would advise. That would be my advice to you guys. Our next question, what do you love most about racing? And this kind of actually goes back to what I just answered. What I love most about racing is when I'm at the racetrack, it's like my way to get away from life or anything going on. Like if I feel like I have a busy week coming up or any of life's problems, you know, just typical like stress if it's a school paper or something stupid, because, you know, as us teenagers, we think everything's the end of the world, but our life problems are very, very small. But something like that, you know, I feel like I'm able to get away. When I'm at the racetrack, I don't think of anything else besides shooting my vlogs, having fun, trying to win races, and overall just the experience of being at the track. And that's what racing provides for me. It's that getaway and just having fun. And like I said, no matter what's going on, our whole family, we're not stressed out, we're relaxed. Well, I take that back. We're not always relaxed at the track. It can be stressful, but you know, it's like I said, it's our getaway for our whole family. It's like our vacation. The next question to answer, how did you get your ride with QRC? So if you guys don't know, I drive the factory QRC house cart owned by Jimmy Elledge and the company QRC Karts. They are the #1 manufacturer for outlaw karts in the United States, and they have been for a very long time. So first off, it's an honor to get to drive their race cars. And second, to answer your question, I've just always driven a QRC. Whether I was in beginner box, box stock, 250, or open, I've never switched over to any other manufacturer. I've been very, very loyal to them, And once I met Jimmy towards the beginning of the decade when he took over the business, I remember I won the West Coast Nationals in the box stock, and he came over and we talked for the first time. And ever since then, we've just kind of clicked. And it was funny, the first time I ever drove their car, he kneeled down, he was like, Tanner, I don't know if you remember this, but I've always said that you were gonna drive my race cars one day, and so we were both glad that it finally came true. So that was really, really cool. I love working with Jimmy and everyone at QRC, and it's a total dream come true to get to drive their race cars. Here is another question that when I saw it, I knew I had to put it in the video. Does iRacing actually help? Now, some would disagree with me, but I say yes. Here is why. So iRacing, it is probably the closest thing you have to actually being in the race car. Of course, you don't get the feeling of what the car is actually doing, but between force feedback and some of the best simulators out there, even if you don't have a simulator, you can watch and you're working on racing. Throttle control, hitting your marks every single lap, also changing setups and feeling what that does to the car, and watching the track change as the race goes on. So it's the closest thing you have to real life, and if you're playing that thing a lot like I do and a lot of my buddies, I personally think it helps you get better because you're just racing. You're racing something and you're training yourself. Also, another thing it helps you with is situations. Let's say there's one lap to go in my race at Linear Midgets, and I have the decision whether to follow this guy on the top and make my move in 3 and 4, or slide him in the first corner and let him cross me up. There's just so many different things that it can help you with, and situations is a big thing because that's something you can easily transition over into real life. And now our last question, how do you determine where you put the GoPro? Well, if you guys have been watching my videos for a while, you know I like to keep it right over my left shoulder, whether it's on the sprint car or the outlaw cart. That's just a great place to put it. Now for qualifying, I try to do some unique angles sometimes, and mainly I just kind of see what mounts I have and try to play with it on the sprint car and put it in different spots before I head to the racetrack, and I kind of figure out what I want to do. In the outlaw cart, I just really like the angle over the left shoulder, so I don't change it as much as the sprint car, but the sprint car with so many different bars, you can do some cool stuff, whether that's maybe down lower like I had last weekend, or up more, seeing where you can see my whole hand movement with the steering wheel, or you can do stuff facing backwards, forwards, and like I said, just a bunch of different cockpit angles. But I usually try to do it before I head to the racetrack, so I'm just prepared and I test it a lot during the week. So that's how I do that. But that's all the questions I got for this video. We have sprint car racing this weekend here at the Cottage Grove Speedway. And with that, I would like to thank all of my marketing partners on the car. We have Pape Machinery, Pape Kenworth, ABC Powder Coating, OMA KTM, Fast Form Media, Factory QRC, Lafarge North America, Swindell Speed Lab, Ferguson Waterworks, Knife River, Durango RV, North Medford, Les Schwab and Tires, On-Site Screeners, my family, Tara, John, Krista, Carly. I thought I had to say their names for the shout out. And then also Roger and Zach. It's going to be a great weekend. Our team is very, very confident after some of the success we had at the Southern Oregon Speedway. We're hoping to carry it into this next weekend. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget, my new merchandise is up on TannerHolmes.com. The next video will be me actually having the t-shirts because they're going to be done this week. My dad's going to pick them up and bring them back home. So I'll show you guys my sweatshirts and my t-shirts, and then also talk about some new merchandise that'll be coming up here in just a few months later. Tons of cool stuff. Stay tuned. Deuces.